There were reports that he was going to end up on IR. Now the story today is he wants to try to play through it.
Somebody right about
so
that.
As a former athlete, you talking about football. You're not even talking about like re-injuring yourself or doing the injury, like worsening it. You're talking about life, man. That's a back injury.
Yeah, backs and knees is something I never wanted to play around with. Back, knees, and necks. You can do anything else, but no.
Heads.
I can make it back from anything else, but that back and the knees. When that back lock up, like you freeze.
Yeah.
Like there is no movement.
It happens to me every once in a while. I'm just walking around.
Forget about it. I'm telling you. Like,
And don't think those Titans defensive players don't know about that.
Right.
Going in there.
So what? He's going to try to give it a go. That lets you know how thin they are, too, at receiver.
Word around the campfire. And they are thin. It looked like he was out. Josh Downs has been banged up having practice this week, so their slot guy. So anyway, Titans now a 2.5-point favorite in that matchup. 12 o'clock coming up on Sunday. You catch all the action right here on 104.5 The Zone. Every Friday at 4:20, we visit with Greg Cosell, executive producer and analyst for NFL Matchup on the ESPN properties, senior producer for NFL Films, almost 45 years there, at Greg Cosell on the X Machine. Greg, what's up? How are you?
Gentlemen, and I use that term very loosely. How are you?
Yes, we know. Thank you. We're well aware. Great. Thank you, man. Listen, but you hang out with us, so there's that.
Yeah, I know. What does that say about me?
I was going to start with the Colts defense and their inability to really stop much of anything, but I'm going to start here. Jonathan Taylor is out. How does that affect what the Colts try to do offensively? How big a blow is that for them?
I don't think it will affect how they play. It might affect the production, but I think since Richardson, I believe, was a full participant in practice, he's going to go. So I imagine that they'll play their normal offense with Richardson. Trey Sermon will be the back. Tyler Goodson, former Big Ten back, will get some carries. I don't think it'll dramatically impact how they play tactically. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor is a great back when healthy, but Sermon's got some talent, and I think. So I don't think it will impact the tactical approach to the game.
From a production standpoint, what did you see from their run game against Jacksonville?
I think that at their core, let me say this.
Okay.
I think at their core, they want to be a running football team because the bottom line with Richardson at this point is, and Shane Steichen has been through this with young quarterbacks that have movement ability. He was in Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts during the Super Bowl year. I don't think they are a pass-first team by any means. So it's not a matter of what they did last week. It's more a matter of how they're going to play. This is how they're going to play. They're not going to ask Anthony Richardson to drop back 45 times unless by chance the game calls for it, which I doubt it would. And they're going to try to run the ball. They'll have a multiple concept run game because Richardson is a part of it. So you have to be very, very aware of that. Now, obviously, Richardson's coming off an injury. Perhaps they'll cut down on the design run game element with Richardson because they don't want him to get hurt. Look, last year he missed almost the entire season. This year he's already gotten hurt. They may want to cut that back, but I think it's how they play, how they have to play at this point with Anthony Richardson, who's a very scattershot, erratic passer at this point in his career.
Greg Cosell with us on 3HL. So the Titans, number 1 in the NFL on defense. The Colts are number 32, and there have been 20 matchups since the merger in this scenario, and the team with the number 1 rated defense is 17-3 against the team with the worst defense. I know that doesn't mean anything to you, but I do like numbers sometimes. Why have the Colts struggled? And let's start with the run game. Why have they struggled so much to stop the run? Number 31 in the league.
Well, they've been missing DeForest Buckner, who's one of the better D tackles in the league, and he's not going to play this week either. So I think that's a big deal right there. So they've been playing with a lot of guys. I mean, I've always liked Grover Stewart, their nose tackle. I think he's a good player. But I think that, they're playing with a lot of guys who have sort of been journeyman type players in the league. So I think the talent level of their defensive front, as run players, has not been very good. I think the rookie Latu from UCLA has really flashed as a pass rusher, but he's more of an edge pass rusher than he is a run defender at this point in his career. I do like their two linebackers when they play nickel. I think we've seen Zaire Franklin, solid pro, not a star, solid pro. I think EJ Speed has played very, very well for them. But it's the front group that's really been a problem.
So you saying they're the back group, though, the secondary, they're doing fine back there, Greg?
I wouldn't say they're doing fine. I think they're a beatable group as well, Slate.
Yeah. Anybody stand out with them, though?
What's that?
Anybody stand out with them for their back group?
I think Nick Cross is a really intriguing player at safety, first-year starter, came out of Maryland in 2022 as a third-round pick, really fast, kind of an explosive mover. I think he'll grow into being a quality safety in this league. I think that corner position is beatable. They played Jalen Jones, who was a seventh-round pick last year, became a starter as a rookie. He's really the main guy. I mean, he's sort of the guy back there. He plays right corner, and at left corner, they've been rotating two players. They've been rotating Samuel Womack and Dallas Flowers, who he may even be hurt. I'm not sure. I think he got hurt last week. So now it's basically Womack, and I think that's an area you can attack for sure.
That's interesting because we heard Nick Holes come out and talk about wanting to get Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins more involved, and those are the two guys on the outside.
This is the week to do that. This is the week to do that for absolute certainty.
So your belief with this, what you saw with this offensive line for the Titans coming out of the Miami game, slightly better and can hold up against this defensive line shouldn't present that big of an obstacle against them?
Well, it's the NFL, Slay, so I would never say that.
Yeah.
But I would say that based on what we've seen through this season, where this is week 6 now, through this season, that they should be able to hold up.
Yeah.
I think I think they've got to be able to run the ball with some effectiveness. Will Levis is not at the point, nor is the O-line, where you can say, hey, just because those corners may be beatable, that you can drop back 45 times. Right. I don't think you can think like that or play that way. They have to be able to run the ball. They did in the last game. And I think you have to run the ball with both volume and obviously production, because the way offensive coordinators are, and Nick Holtz is no different than anybody else, if you're running the ball and gaining 2 yards every time, he's going to stop running the ball.
Yeah.
So you need some production in the run game. But I guess my point is, and balance is a relative term for different offensive coordinators. No one thinks 50-50 these days. But I think you have to have some semblance of a run game that is not just a once-in-a-while thing.
Yeah, and watching Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, I think we kind of knew what Tony Pollard was, but the moves that are made in the backfield by Tajay Spears, man, to make that first guy miss even when the blocking isn't holding up, he could be dangerous, Greg.
Yeah. Well, the only thing with that, Slay, is you prefer he doesn't have to make those moves in the backfield behind the line of scrimmage.
That's right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I think that's part of the reason, when you scratch your head and Derrick Henry doesn't come back and you start to see him playing the way he is for Baltimore, is look at all the steps he's getting to get to the line of scrimmage, and now we had to play the way he is again.
No, and that's the thing, because, not to talk about Henry, but any back, you want them to be able to generate some kind of burst and velocity, as they get to the first level of the defense. You do not want them to have to change direction in the backfield.
Yeah.
Will Levis has practiced all week. He's going to go. I was told early on that unless there was a setback, he was going to play against Indianapolis, and certainly appears to be the case. Can you walk us through the interception, though, where he said he did not see Agba in front of DeAndre Hopkins? Can you walk us through that play?
That's a really hard deal for a quarterback. Let me just say this.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm sure people, when he made the interception, started with, oh, my God, this guy's terrible. I don't know how many people saw the game on Sunday from London, and Aaron Rodgers threw the same interception that was returned for a touchdown by Andrew Van Ginkel. I work with a guy on the matchup show who played quarterback in college, and we talk about these kinds of things all the time because we work together. That is so hard for a quarterback when a defensive lineman drops out like that, because you can't see them. So if that happens to be where you're throwing the ball, they're going to be right in the lane. And, again, there are times they drop out and that's not where the ball gets thrown. So it doesn't seem like a big deal, but you can't see those guys. I mean, Levis, you could see it on TV. When he walked to the sideline, you saw him, you could see his lips say, I didn't see him. Yeah. And he didn't see him. There's no way to see him really. So those are really difficult. They drop out like that. And if they happen to be in the passing lane, you're essentially going to throw it right to them.
Yeah, I mean, the immediate reaction on social media when everyone saw him and read his lips say he didn't see him is, how do you not see a 300-plus pound defensive lineman?
But that's happy.
That's the
social media.
The naked eye fan right there, because I was one of those.
So Josh Downs is listed as questionable for the Colts. He's their slot guy. What does he give them?
Oh, he's juicy. He's got a lot of quickness to him, and he's got a little speed too. So to have some vertical ability. In fact, last year, I remember you could argue in the first 3 or 4 games, Anthony Richardson's best throw was to in his 4 games was to
Josh Downs
on a seam ball. I think it was against the Rams. So he can run the seam. He's really quick on a lot of these pivot and whip routes that can get you first downs. If it's 3rd and 5, he can run those pivot whip type routes. He's really good run after catch. He's just been injured a lot, but he has all the traits you look for in an NFL slot receiver.
So
now, if
go ahead.
Pittman can't go, and again, I heard you talking, and it's funny because as of yesterday, he was done for 4 weeks.
Right.
And you guys said he's going to try to play. I guess we'll find out. Now we're going to see, A.D. Mitchell, he'd probably get a meaningful number of snaps. He might anyway. I don't know if Pittman can play 60 snaps, even if he's going to try to play through it. So we'll see. But those are 2 different kinds of receivers, Mitchell and Pittman.
Their deep play guy, I think maybe a lot of people aren't familiar with, big-time deep play threat. Alec Pierce, 6'3", 211, third year out of Cincinnati, averaging, Greg, 28.3 yards per catch. He has 2 catches of 60-plus yards. Against Jacksonville, Pierce caught 3 balls for 134 and a touchdown. Why are they having so much success with him? What does he give them?
Well, it's funny. I remember watching him when he came out of the University of Cincinnati, and I actually liked him a lot. And again, he's been on a team where the quarterback play has been spotty. So, I always felt that if he was on a team, with a much more consistent pass offense, not that he'd be a big volume guy and catch 90 balls, but that he could be a vertical threat and that he could be a factor in your offense. And it's not that teams are having trouble because he probably only has 10 catches, if that. But he can run and he's long. And that stride length, I remember watching him in college, he strides really, really well. And that's one reason, in addition to his speed, that he can get on top of the defense. So you got to be really careful about that. I mean, you saw how quickly they got back in the game against Jacksonville last week because of the deep balls to him.
Yeah.
What do you think the key is for the Tennessee Titans to get the win? Is it simply be able to run the football and start there?
Well, I think that's a major factor because one of the things that running the football allows you to do is to control the pace and tempo of the game. They need to do that. They can't be in a situation where, number one, they're behind by meaningful points, and number 2, where Will Levis feels pressure to have to make every throw perfect. Now, I know he's that kind of kid, and he's got to work through that on his own. The only way he'll work through that is by playing, but you'd like to be in a position where you're controlling the way the game is played. And by that, I don't mean that you have to be ahead 24-6. I just mean you have to feel like the game is being played the way you want it to be played. They're not good enough right now to win a game 31-10, barring turnovers, crazy plays, things like that. But you want to feel like the way in which you're playing is controlling the game.
Or a team not having Tua at quarterback. That's another way to win 31-12.
That's a different conversation, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, for sure. Speaking of them real quick, I mean, obviously Tua is very, very important. I think it was Orlovsky was saying during the broadcast, there are only like 5 guys in the league that can run that offense. What did he mean by that, and do you agree?
Well, it's a certain kind of offense. You have to be an incredibly timing and rhythm throw, incredibly good one. You have to be able to throw in windows. Those are hard throws.
Yeah.
Not everybody sees the game like that. Even some great quarterbacks, I don't view this as a controversial statement at all. I've had this conversation. Like I said, I work with a guy who played quarterback. Patrick Mahomes doesn't play like that. Josh Allen doesn't play like that. Rodgers certainly played like that. When he was Aaron Rodgers, he absolutely played like that. But yeah, not everybody, even great quarterbacks, can. I think Burrow can play like that. But even quarterbacks we consider really good, not everybody has that refined sense of timing and rhythm to make window throws like that. Jared Goff can play like that.
Yeah. I just thought that was an interesting point. Wanted to pick your brain on that.
Again, without going through the whole list of quarterbacks in the league, I'm not doing that right now in my head, but I think his overall point is valid.
Mm-hmm. Love it, Greg. Can't wait to check out Titans and Colts. Appreciate the breakdown, and we'll talk with you next Friday.
Looking forward to it, guys. Thanks so much. Have a great one.
Thank you. There he is. He's Greg Cosell. When we come back, by the way, spreads are out for the Titans and for the Vols for next week.
Dang.
I've got Tennessee-Alabama point spread. I've got Titans-Bills point spread. Also, Reese and Laura ready to chime in on Tennessee-Florida.
Let's get it.
That's next as we continue Trash Talk Friday until 6 o'clock on 104.5 The Zone.